Hi everyone, this is Yana Smakola and thank you for stopping by. In this video, I'd like to share a fun light up card I created combining products from Simon Says Stamp Advent Plus release and Chibi lights from the latest Simon Says Stamp card kit, the December 2016 card kit. I shared a video a few days ago using this kit and I mentioned I couldn't wait to play with the Chibitronics lights, so I'll share a card I made using them in this video. I'm going to start by stamping a simple scene onto my cardstock panel. I'm using Audrey Blue cardstock today and I've placed it into my Misty stamp positioner. I'll be using Misty to do my stamping, but don't feel like you have to use it. Simple stamping like this one I'll be doing today can be easily done using a clear block. I'm simply being lazy and this is why I'm using my Misty. I'm starting by stamping a sentiment in the middle of my panel, and here I have Advent Sentiment Mini Stamp Set from Simon. I'm going to stamp Christmas Time is Here, and I'm using Simon's embossing ink. This is clear sticky ink, perfect for heat embossing, and just like Versamark, it's also a watermark ink, and you can see right there that it leaves a watermark impression on my paper. I'm first stamping Christmas, and then adding the second part of my sentiment, Time is Here. So together, my sentiment reads, Christmas Time is Here. I personally can never have too many sentiment stamps, so I'm always on the lookout for great ones, and I think this one is definitely a great sentiment and a great sentiment stamp set too. I'm going to do all of my stamping first and will add embossing powder once I've stamped everything. I'm going to use these fun houses. If you've been following me for some time, you might have noticed that I have a thing for houses, as I've shared many projects using house stamps of all sorts. So I'm using houses from the Christmas Town stamp set. This one is also a new stamp set from the Advent Plus release from Simon Says Stamp, and I'm using all three buildings from here. I have two little homes and a church. Now these images would be perfect to stamp onto craft cardstock to heat emboss in white and color using pencils. As soon as I'm done editing this video, I'm actually going to go ahead and order myself a set of Prismacolor pencils. I tried them a few weeks ago at a crafty retreat, and I now know that I simply must have them in my stash. So that being said, I am not doing any coloring in this video, but I am looking forward to stamping those houses onto white or maybe craft paper and coloring them when I have a few spare moments. You could color them if you wanted to, but I wanted to keep this card very simple so that the focus would be on the lights. I am placing my images at an angle. I don't want them to be placed strictly horizontally or vertically. I want them to sort of lean towards my sentiment, so this is why I'm angling them here. I think that looks a little more natural and pleasing to the eye, even though there is absolutely nothing natural about houses standing at an angle in real life. I also have three little stars from the same Christmas Town stamp set, and I'm just stamping those using the same clear embossing ink onto my panel, filling the space above the roofs of my houses and around the sentiment. I will be adding a lot of white snow using a white gel pen, and I just want to have some sort of additional filler elements in there. I'm going to go ahead and add Simon's Antique Gold embossing powder to the entire panel, and will preheat my heat gun and melt the powder. You can by all means work in sections, so say stamp a sentiment, add embossing powder, heat set it, stamp three houses, add embossing powder, and again heat set those. The reason I added embossing powder at the very end is because I didn't want to mess up my stamping. I could have easily placed my hand into embossing powder and messed up the whole thing. This did happen in the past, not with this particular card, but with another project. And the reason I heat embossed it all at once is I didn't want my cardstock to warp too much from all the heat, so I was trying to add as little heat as possible. And this cardstock from Simon Says Stamp is actually pretty thick, so unless you hold your heat tool in one spot for a very long time, it doesn't warp too much. I wanted to darken the edges of my panel and keep the center light, so I grabbed the same ink color as my paper, Audrey Blue, and my mini round ink blending tool and heavily blended a lot of color around the edges of this panel. Once I was happy with my card front design, I grabbed my craft knife and I made openings for the lights. Houses and chibi lights make the perfect combination. You can have beautiful light in the windows of your houses. So here I'm using my craft knife and I'm just cutting a few of the windows out on three different buildings. I tried poking my paper out and that really didn't look very neat. So I have found that cutting little openings out with my craft knife was a better option. So I cut about 5 openings on my panel, and to make sure my chibi lights would be hidden on my card, I created a little vellum panels and I adhered them from the back of my Audrey Blue heat embossed panel. Now at this point, before you adhere your vellum, it would be best to mark where you have the openings. So place the panel onto the card base and just trace the windows with a pencil. I failed to do that, so I had to sort of guess where my windows would be, and that made the process a little more difficult. So learn from my mistakes and mark the spots for the lights before you add your vellum. Now, building a circuit with chibi lights is actually not as scary as it sounds, and it's quite fun once you know what you're doing. Be sure to read the instructions that come with the lights. They are exceptionally helpful, especially if you didn't pay a lot of attention in your physics class. That would be me. I never really understood physics well. I was busy learning English at that time. So I'm not going to get into the details of how to make a circuit and what to do and not to do, as there are a lot of great videos out there, but I will show you quickly what I did. So here I'm making a simple parallel circuit. I'm having wires go parallel to each other, and I have my battery in my little pocket, my paper pocket. And you can see I've marked a plus and a minus in every spot. So I have pluses and minuses where my battery is and where my lights will be. And I find this to be very helpful. You basically want all pluses to be on one side and all minuses to be on the other side. And you want to avoid wires crossing or nothing will work. The battery and the lights each have a positive and a negative side, so a plus and a minus. So when you adhere those down, make sure your pluses match up with the pluses on the wires, those that you have in your paper, and your minuses match up with the minuses you have on the paper. If you do everything correctly, and you still find that your lights are not lighting up, that might be because they are not touching the wires. So it helps to press them down firmly and burnish them with a bone folder to make sure there's that connection and the electricity is flowing. So I finally got all 3 of my lights to light up. I was super happy, and you can see me testing the card front here. The light goes on in the windows of my houses when you press the middle of the card, the sentiment. The rest is very simple actually. You want to add some foam adhesive to your card base to be able to build dimensional wall around the battery. And I used some colored fun foam here, and I went with 2 layers of fun foam. I should have went with 3 layers because, as you can see here, my card ended up lighting up just from a single touch. I don't really know if that's a bad thing or not. I kind of like that I could touch it anywhere and it would light up, so that I didn't have to tell the person I'm going to give this card to press on a particular spot. But at the same time, a few minutes later, or maybe like a half an hour or an hour later, the lights just wouldn't turn off. So I actually had to insert a piece of paper in between the battery and the wire to break the circuit. And I guess this is just another fun way to have the lights light up on the card. Now, I'm definitely very happy with the way this card turned out, and I'm glad I gave Chibi Lights a try. They are perfect for interactive cards. I will be using them a lot in the future. And I'm also very happy I learned from my mistakes, so the next cards I make using these lights will be a little better engineered. I also used a white gel pen, and I added a lot of snow details to my cards. I have little snow dots around my sentiment. I have snow sitting on the windowsills. I have some snow on the roofs and the chimneys, and also a little bit of snow on my sentiment. And that actually makes the sentiment look a little bit dimensional. So this finished this card, created using Simon Says Stamp Advent Plus release. This video is also a part of a blog hop from Simon. Be sure to head over to my blog to join the hop. This one actually celebrates 3 different releases. There's a December card kit, a limited edition holiday kit, and also the Advent Plus release. So lots of great new products, some fantastic inspiration, and tons of fun. Thank you so much for joining me today. The list of supplies to create this card can be found down below in the video description and also on my blog. On the screen, you're seeing a few other holiday cards I have on my YouTube channel. Feel free to check them out for additional inspiration. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'll see you next time. Bye!